welcome to The Truth is Simple. This is Dave Corum, your host. We're going to talk about July 13th. I know today is the 15th, and today's the first day of the RNC convention in Wisconsin. J.D. Vance, I believe, was already announced as the running mate for Trump. I don't know if that's the best choice. I didn't really research all the applicants or the people that were looking to become the vice president of the United States. I don't think it matters as much which of those guys or gals would have been put on the ticket as it is for Trump to be on the ticket. And 2 days ago, on the 13th, basically 1/2 an inch, so something about like that, was the difference between Trump being here and being gone. And who knows what the convention would be like right now. It'd be in total disarray. Probably would have been pushed off for some time in the future because they would have to figure out who's going to be the new candidate from the Republican Party, which is why it would have been probably better if Trump announced JD prior to that event. I know he's trying to save it up, right? For the convention, we're going to have this big announcement. He didn't really save it, I guess. It's just now started in the first day, and they've already made the announcement. So I don't know what difference it would have made if he would have made it a month ago or 2 weeks ago. But if after the shooting, we would have had a vice president, at least a name on the ticket. Whether he would have been the one on the top as Trump's recommended second, I guess you could say, it would have made sense for us. Otherwise, who's next? Nikki Haley, because she stayed in the race the longest and probably had the most delegates after Trump. There would have been an argument that she should be the next president of the United States from the Republican Party. And I don't think that would have went too well in the election, and Biden would have easily won. But anyway, thank God that Trump is still alive and that bullet missed. But I want to talk about that. I think that's probably one of the biggest things we need to talk about. If you go back and look at my season 2, episode 8, I talk about rough seas ahead. I filmed that about 4 months ago. Prophecy and predictions is part of the title of that video. I think you should go back and watch it. At 1 hour and roughly 3.5 minutes, I kind of make my prediction that there's a 65 to 80% chance that Trump is going to be assassinated or attempted to be assassinated right before the RNC or directly right after it, probably before the election. I don't think we're in calm waters now that this attempt has happened. I think the likelihood of it happening again between now and then are lesser because then I think the Democrats are really going to have a lot more worrisome stuff. But with J.D. Vance in place now, the Democrats kind of know that I think they're going to get a similar president as to Trump in the office if Trump happens to win the election and is assassinated before he takes office, which is still a possibility, lesser I think now moving forward, but it's still a possibility. And with that said, I wanted to talk about January 13th, and I'm going to throw my notes up here in a second, and I want you to kind of follow along. As I was doing this over the last 2.5 days, it's like this is just getting longer and longer and longer and longer. But what I want to talk about is, who is Thomas Matthew Crooks? Who is he? Where did he come from? I want to talk about, if you've listened to any of the news channels, primarily Fox or Newsmax or one of those conservative channels, maybe not so much from the left channels, you hear about a lot of the failures that happened to the security on this event. As I was looking at it and watching it the day of the shoot, and as things started to come out, I'm thinking, as a retired law enforcement officer and as a public and traffic safety commissioner for a small city in California, Temecula, I was thinking, how could they make these mistakes? How could these mistakes have grown? They've done 20, 30, 50 Trump rallies over the last 8 years or more, 12 years, almost 12 years now. How could they have missed this so bad? Where a young kid, 20 years old, and we're going to talk about that young kid. He's not as young as you think he might be, and I'm going to kind of explain why. Um, how can a young kid, 20 years old, work his way on top of a building 130 yards away from where Trump's speaking with a rifle? How does that happen? It's just a massive failure on the security side, starting uh, with the Secret Service. They're responsible for the integrity of that location. We have elevated buildings 130 yards away, and yet you do no sweep right prior to the event happening, or or any of that. There's also some trees that are there in the location, which um, could have been used as well. Um, it's just astonishing when I saw the photographs and the distances and so forth to this. This was a strategic failure on a massive proportions. Um, if if I was president of the United States, the HSS secretary would be gone. The Secret Service person in charge of that, she would be gone. Everybody, everybody at a supervisory level, there'd be massive promotions right now at the Secret Service. Let's just say that there would be massive promotions. The police and the state police, lesser known there, what their responsibilities and duties are. I'm sure that'll come out in the investigation. But to a lesser extent, somebody had to be responsible for that space. I'm not sure who was responsible for that space, but how does a guy walk through a secured location, supposedly? Yeah, those businesses were closed. There were no cars in the parking lot. Nobody was working that day. How does somebody walk through the parking lot, walk through the field that's before it, through the little bit of trees maybe to hide themselves from being seen? How do they walk across that distance, over that fence and through that distance? Climb up a ladder. How did the kid know where there's a ladder anyway? He either had to go do a pre-site investigation for himself, because he wasn't carrying the ladder in. So he either had to go do a pre-site investigation, or he had some kind of help to get into that type of location. Somebody gave him the map. Somebody told him where the ladder was, how to access the roof. All that stuff was pre-planned. That should be part of the investigation, and hopefully it is. So far, what we've learned about this young fellow, Thomas Matthew Crooks. Let me bring up my site or my page so you can kind of follow along with me as I'm going through it. And I'm going to put my lovely picture right next to it, I think. There we go. So he's 20 years old, right? Fresh out of high school, I guess. He's a man. He's an adult at this point in his life. He knows right from wrong and that type of thing. There are a lot of younger people, even if you remember, Kamala Harris said college students are stupid. So here you go. People 18 to 24. They're stupid per Kamala. So here you go. As you look through my little sheet here, you can see, who is he? He's 20 years old. I don't know why they came out with this all of a sudden, but within the first couple hours, he's he's registered as a Republican. Who cares? Who cares what his politics are? But sure enough, that was like one of the first things that I heard on the news that came out. The guy is a registered Republican. Okay. So let's not politicize this at all. It's the Republicans killing Republicans, right? I think you need to look through that a little bit and see when that registration actually occurred. I'm going to go through the section towards the bottom where we're going to go back and we're going to look at and see how Thomas kind of fits in here, how Crooks kind of fits into what I think is the primary person that somebody would try to find, keyword, someone would try to find to do this type of thing, the shooting. I don't think this kid was on his own. He is not what you would call a lone wolf. He is definitely not a lone wolf. He had help, substantial help from someplace. Maybe his dad is kind of a top suspect in my mind at this point. I tried to do a little research and I found a little bit of information, I think, on him, but I'm not going to divulge that You can go to the web and find your own information on Dad if you'd like. Um, but at age 17, he donated $15 to a left progressive organization. So the kind of the 15 to the 20, the voter registration to the age 17 just does not jive very well. Um, so I would not be surprised if that was information that was, maybe he registered it because somebody told him to do it that way, or it was done for him by someone else to register him, showing that he's a Republican. So this was set up some time ago, and you could probably look at that registration and almost tie in when his training towards this shooting started to happen, I would say. Lived in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, just south of Pittsburgh, about 1 hour or so from Butler, PA. So you got to think this kid is going to drive all the way from Bethel Park, an hour up. He's going to be thinking through his mind as he's doing this 1 hour drive plus up there, that I'm going to shoot the President of the United States. What kind of common sensed person, as they're driving for an hour, gets to a spot, sees the massiveness of it all, the police, the security, the hundreds and thousands of people wandering and walking around at this event, the idea that I'm going to be assassinating this guy on a stage, and I got to do all these things to get to that point where I'm going to do it. How many young 20-year-olds have the wherewithal? Think about this: the wherewithal to do that. Not many. That means this guy had to be trained up front. He had to work this out through his head. He had to be somewhat, hate to say it, brainwashed to the point where those things didn't mean much or anything to him. So he drove a van parked nearby. They found explosives in his van. Not so sure why he would have explosives in the van. They found explosives in his house as well. That seems to be kind of like a side thing. I don't think he thought, or the person that was sending him on this mission thought that he was going to survive. So I think the bombs in and of itself was insequential. I think it was part of his training process to help him mentally prepare towards getting his life, almost like a suicide bomber would do. So I think that's all part of the pieces of prepping his mind, getting him to the point. And if he had to at that location, if he would have been stopped his van parked and been contacted by law enforcement right away, maybe if he had a pipe bomb or something like that, or maybe he was going to use that as a source of distraction somewhere or something. So that could have been the reason why he took some with him. But they were in the van. He didn't have, from what I understand, at the time, he didn't have any of those explosive materials with him at the shooting location. He used the AR-15 rifle. Armalite is the AR stands for, not assault rifle. It's an AR-15 Armalite rifle. 15 is basically the number of it, the type it is. I heard roughly between 8 and 10 shots. You could, I think, about 10 seconds later, as you watch the video, you can hear a second shot or a final shot. And I believe that was a sniper taking him out on the building. But I think he only had probably a 10-round clip in it, and he used his 10 rounds, and probably at the time he was trying to reload, that's when the sniper took him out. So why only a 10 round? Because I'm not sure in Pennsylvania, but there might be in some states there's only a 10 round clip is what's mandatory. The gun, from what I understand, belonged to his father, legally purchased. How the son, at 20 years old, he's able to possess a rifled weapon in Pennsylvania, I think. AR is not necessarily a hunting type of rifle. It's mostly for defense and those types of purposes. But you can use it for smaller game. You're not going to shoot probably a large deer or an elk or anything like that with an AR rifle. You just aren't going to do that. So you probably had a 10-round clip. Everything's legal as far as a rifle goes. My question is, why is nobody talking to his dad? Where's his dad in this whole thing? All right. Guy has no arrest record, no traffic violations. Clean as snow, right? that should be another sound off to some aspect. Not that I'm any different than than him, because I don't have a ticket either in I've been driving since I was 16, 15 and a half, 16 when I got my permit. I've never gotten a ticket. I've been stopped, but luckily didn't get a ticket a couple times. The officer just gave me like a verbal message and said, "Be on your way, young man." So I was. But no traffic tickets, no arrest warrants or citations or anything else. That's me too. It doesn't seem to be that he was a drug user in any means, manner, or way. I have heard nothing about him smoking marijuana. We found cocaine or any kind of methamphetamine in his house or anything like that. So he sounds like a pretty much clean-cut kid, right? At this point. Questions. How was he radicalized? That's my question. Fresh out of high school, you kind of understand that he was supporting a leftist group, at least through a financial donation of a whole $15. Big deal, right? And now he's registered as a Republican. I'm not sure, but I have not heard a lot of information that they found a computer in the house. So if there was a computer, what was he using to be online? I mean, most kids that his age, they might have like an iPad or something like that. They might have a computer at home. I don't think from what I understand, I haven't heard that he was going to school or anything like that. So I don't know him in that manner. But most likely his cell phone was his primary means of watching and video and doing social media and that type of thing on the internet. So they have his phone. I'm sure they're doing some forensics background on his phone and so forth and so on. I hope they don't miss stuff or leave stuff out, because that's going to be the primary tool of knowing what. If you watch another video I had a while back, telephones are the worst thing in the world. They are tracking mechanisms. Everywhere you take your cell phone, they know where you've been. So in that case, his cell phone is his primary tracking, law enforcement's primary tracking tool to find out maybe over the last year where this kid has been, where he's stayed, who he's talked to, what he's read, what he's watched on YouTube or any of these other social media channels. Not necessarily YouTube. He could be watching stuff someplace else on, what's the one? TikTok. Could be watching stuff on TikTok. Who knows? That could be the culprit to this whole thing. So how was he radicalized? Did he have a surrogate? What I mean by that was, there somebody he found on social media, or they found him on social media. They started up a communication. You see a lot of these guys going after young girls or whatever, predators on the internet. Well, I hate to tell you, but it happens this way too, where young guys can be predatorized. In fact, if you go back 5, 10, 15 years ago, one of the big recruiting tools, and they were recruiting Americans, believe it or not, was the internet. Some of these websites, the Arab websites, what are they called? The organizations and groups out there, they were sending emails, and people here in the United States were watching their videos, and they were recruiting Americans to go to Afghanistan and Iraq to fight against Americans. So it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon for radicalization to happen across the internet on the phone, or for someone that you're kind of seeking a website. They send out a little link to you and say, "Hey, I'm so and so. I see you're talking about this, or you're watching this. Hey, you know what? I have this little club," or, "Hey, I really would like to connect with you." And they connect, and over time they build a relationship, and then perhaps they will meet. Most likely they will, and he probably did meet his handler, I will say, and that type of thing. So who was the handler? We'll get there. Organizations. What other organizations are out there? I was just talking about that, right? Organizations like Hamas and those types of organizations that are sending out propaganda to people to recruit them to come fight for them and fight with them. Where did the AR came from? His dad. What is his parents? What is his upbringing? What was their philosophy? Uh, I found it pretty interesting. I think it was within a couple hours. There was an ad, or not an ad, there was a notification on the news that they had contacted the father. I think it was CNN. I think I was watching Newsmax, or I was watching Fox, or I don't remember which. I was watching ABC and CBS off and on too through there, just to see what they were reporting. And so I don't remember which channel I was watching, but they made a comment, and they said specifically CNN, Communist News Network, had contacted the father, or the father had contacted them, and he made basically the comment. You can look right here on the computer. It says, CNN, Matthew Crooks, 53, the father of the accused, spoke to CNN stating that he's trying to piece together the events and will speak to law enforcement before making any statements about his son. I have a link right there. You can go to the link if you want and check it out for yourself, so you know where I got it. I think, where is that? Is that, no, that's MSN, so there you go. Another communist news network, but so you can get the information there as well. So that just verifies what he said. And I should have put that in quotes, but I didn't. But that's where it came from. What part does Dad have in this? That's my question. Like I said, I did a little search for the dad. I'm not 100% sure that it was him, but it was a same guy, 53 years, 53, in that same kind of area, had a lot of phones, which is like a trigger in my mind. Why does a guy have so many phones or phone numbers? Plus, he had multiple living locations. Not that people don't move. I don't know what his background and so forth, so maybe he moves quite a bit. He doesn't own a place. He just moves from place to place. That happens too. But that's got to put a red flag up in your mind. Puts a red flag up in my mind. Dad doesn't want to talk. The media, like CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, they're not at his house. They're not haunting him like they would do with everybody else that's ever been shot in our country in the last 30 years. They're leaving this guy alone. That doesn't happen. That's got to put the hairs on the back of your neck have to go up on that a little bit. What's going on here? What's going on with the news press not talking and getting the real story from Dad? It was his gun, right? Legally purchased, yeah, but his son was in possession of it and tried to assassinate the past president of the United States and the front runner who's going to be nominated in the next couple days as the Republican nominee for president of the United States again. Where are you, press? Where are you, news? Why is nobody there? Does the guy have a mom? I think I found a couple connections through the dad that said there was a couple females. I don't know if they were sisters. I don't even know if this was the right guy, to be honest with you, so we're just going to leave it at that. But where's the mom? I haven't heard any stories that she's passed away. Is she still alive? Why has nobody talked to her? Where is it? Where's the information? Where's the news? No mom. Does he have any siblings, brothers or sisters? I don't know. Do you know? I haven't heard any stories about the guy as just a single guy. He's went to high school, and what about where he's living? You know, they kind of show the address, and then they did a search and they found some bomb making materials. I don't know what else they found in the house because they really haven't said anything about that. But what's the dad's background? What are his politics? What is his religion? What is his life like? Was the dad his trainer? He got his gun. Maybe Dad taught him how to shoot. Maybe Dad taught him how to go do this. I don't know. Who was he living with? Did he have roommates? Where did he work? I haven't heard any of this stuff. The guy didn't have a job, 20 years old. He's living in a house somewhere with bomb-making materials, with his dad's rifle, and nothing. Can you see how all of this does not make sense? If this was another shooter, somebody trying to assassinate somebody else, and we're going to bring another one up in a few minutes on that. Where's the information? It's not there. Where did the money come for him to rent that house? Where did the money come for him to pay for utilities and food? Nobody knows, because Nobody's in the press is talking about it. Can you see how weird this is? Almost like it feels like this is kind of strange. Where is all this stuff? Where is the information? It's just not there. Bomb making materials in his house. Okay. Where did he get that stuff from? Who sold it to him? What kind of bomb making materials are you talking about? You know? How did he know the layout of the venue? Did he visit that area himself? How did he know where the stage was going to be set up? To know how to be on that roof at that location with that shot angle? How did he know this? How did he know how to walk from where he parked his car over a fence? I kind of looked at a preview of that area through Google Maps. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. You can kind of get a rough view of the whole area and see what's sitting around it. About 130 yards. That's a no-brainer for Secret Service, for any law enforcement, anybody with any kind of smarts or background or hunting, any kind of background. A free line of sight from that building to there and no security anywhere. Nobody's sweeping it right before. Nobody's sweeping it during. He walks in. He probably had his gun in some kind of a case or covered bag or something. AR rifles are still fairly decent size, maybe 3.5 feet long. So you could have it in a duffel bag, I guess. But if you break the gun apart like you see it in these movies where they put the rifle, the sniper rifle and everything all together, I hate to say it, but it doesn't really work that way. Because when you put the gun and the scope and everything, you got to re-sight the weapon to the scope. You just can't reassemble a rifle somewhere and think you're going to get a totally accurate shot out of that rifle when you just reattach everything. It just doesn't work like that. So that rifle, at least the scope part, had to be sighted in somewhere before. Now, an AR rifle does kind of break in the middle, so you can break the butt down, leave the scope on top, and put the barrel back on. But that's still not going to be probably 100% when you put it back together as far as the sights being online. But from 130 yards, it's probably, you could just use the iron sights. Don't even need a scope. You could just use the iron sights and get a good shot with that rifle. I've heard and they've talked about it. I'd verify that rifle shoots good from about 600 yards. You have to be really good to shoot something from 600 yards, but from 100 to 200 yards, that rifle is extremely good at shoot. Just about anybody with a little training could shoot that from that distance. All right. Oh, bomb making materials. The venue. How did he know and determine the sniper location and how to access the shooting location? Meaning, he got up on a roof. The business was closed. Did he have somebody leave a ladder out for him somewhere to set it up so he could climb up the ladder? Or that building might have some kind of roofing ladder where people can walk up the side of the ladder, but usually those things are locked at the base, covered with something. So how did he do that? How did he know where that access for that ladder would be? To the roof. I don't know. If he went out and did his own inspection, but how did he know where the stage was going to be? How did he know that was going to be a good line of sight for him to shoot from? He had to have some preliminary information, if it was all him, on where the stage was going and his line of sight and the security network where the fence would be. He would have to know all that. Why was there nobody on the fence? Why was there no preview done before? He should have been caught on top of the roof before. Or as he was coming in, accessing the location, walking basically, I think, somewhere around a quarter of a mile or so, across the parking lot, over a fence, across the parking lot, over a little field. There is a little tree area there that he could have went through, maybe be less seen, but where is the security? How did he know where the time to access the shooting location? So he had to have a specific time frame where he knew he was going to go from the vehicle across that space and up onto the roof. There had to be some kind of time frame. He had to know how long it would take him to traverse that. He had to know a little bit about where visibility from those at the event, where the law enforcement would be probably parked or surveying the outside road between the fence coming in over, where there would be gaps. he had to kind of get do you see how this is not just working out? Like, this is just a freelance shooter kid that's has no idea what he's doing. He's just gonna walk out there and just go shoot the presidential candidate Trump. Can you see how this is not working together? He had to be working with someone. Um, let's look about Secret Service, security and Secret Service. So they had to have a site plan. They have somebody that comes out, I don't know, a month before, 2 weeks before, the week before. They do a site survey. They kind of look around and say, hey, this is where everything's going to go. This is our site plan. Let's look for areas of weakness. Can you not see? Can you not see the buildings over there that are looking down on top of the platform where Trump's going to be speaking? By sight, I just turned, wow. Those are 130 yards away. What? Anybody could have made that shot pretty much from there. He had a challenge. I think I was told there was a police officer that actually was crawling up the ladder to look on the roof, and he saw a barrel of a rifle staring at him. So he quickly, I don't know if it was he or she, kind of started to go back down the ladder, right? I can't say what that officer should have or should have not have done. I wasn't there. I don't know what the circumstances were. But from that time when that happened to the time the shots rang out, could have been mere seconds, probably less than a minute, for him to turn around, get a sight on, and then just start firing. So that might have saved Trump in and of itself, because the shooter didn't have an opportunity to get a good line of sight on him before he shot. And Trump always moves. Moving his head around, right? So he went for a headshot when he could have went for a massive body shot. And Trump probably had a vest on anyway, so it probably would have, well, from the side, panels are not very good. If you would have got him under the armpit or someplace, it probably could have went through and did Trump in pretty good. But that he might have had a good wraparound one around his waist. Some of them are better nowadays than when I was in law enforcement. All right, so area of the assessment. Area of control. Usually the security is leveled. You have the one section where everybody kind of enters the event and comes in and hangs out and watches the event. So that's like the area one. Sometimes if you have an additional based upon this for like shooting and so forth, if this is just the county fair and we're not really looking for shooters, you're only going to have security around a specific small area. Area one is what I call it, level one area. If you're going to have a diplomatic person coming in and you're going to look at various different areas, you might have a level two, whereas you're going to look at higher locations, elevations, and trees, and look for cars and buildings and stuff this person could be shooting off of. Cranes that might be in the area, like they had 2 cranes there, but they were right inside. Things like that. You're going to be looking for those types of things where the assault could happen. And then you're going to have a level 3, which basically you're going to be kind of like an aerial surveillance too. I hear that normally they have drones. Why they didn't have drones here, why they didn't do a security search around the area, maybe they did prior to Trump going on stage, and maybe this guy showed up after he had already gone on stage. But that doesn't mean you just leave those areas. It means you just do your security sweep real quick and then move on to the next thing, or you plant yourself in an area where you can observe and watch. Counter assault team. Now, this is weird. I heard they had 2. If you look at the map, I think I have it. I just don't have it up. Let me see if I can find that for you real quick. If you have the map, let's go to desktop. And it this is what I got off the TV. I just took a picture of it. So hopefully I'm not violating anything by taking a picture of their thing on the TV. But let's see if I can bring that up real quick. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll try. Here comes the map. Boom. I don't know how it's going to pop up. Bam. There it is, but let's see if this brings it up. Nope. Nope. Okay, I can't really bring it up for you. All right, sorry. I can't bring it up, but The map, you could see there were behind the stage. There's a couple of buildings where there's supposedly two shooters, sniper positions for Secret Service and or local law enforcement. I've heard it back and forth that it was Secret Service that shot, and I heard that it was the state police guy that was marksman that was on the roof who shot. So I don't know which it was. Doesn't really matter at this time. Wow, I just think I just closed the wrong box. Let me see if I can bring that back up. I don't think it really matters which it is per se. But the shot rang out about what, 10 seconds. I think you could hear the shot on the TV. It rang out about 10 seconds after the shooter was done. So the guy had to adjust wherever he was looking at, look that direction, scope him in, and then get his shot off pretty fast. So that was pretty amazing. But I heard that usually on these events they have, or these types of events, they have 3 sniper teams of 2. So there's 2 people in each team. Roughly you have the sniper, the counter sniper, and you have an observer who's kind of looking and trying to find things as well. Scroll back down here. There we go. So we're right here, the counter assault team. For this instance, so it shows 2 teams here on their map, or it did show 2 teams. But the one that was on the right was from what I heard, there was only 1 sniper team, so there's only 2 members there. They generally have 6, so 3 teams of 2 guys, so 3 locations where they'll have counter snipers sitting. So if that is true, in fact true, this just tends to make me lead to believe, especially with the elevation sites that were there, whoever planned this event did a horrible job. They removed 2 of the sniper teams that should have been there. Not that in and of itself, but one of the sniper teams might have actually been over there on that facility, because from what I understand, there was that same direction at about 400 to 600 yards. There are additional buildings that sit behind it where you could get an elevated shot towards the stage. So in logic sense, that might have been a location almost right where he was, but maybe a little more out and away, would have been a location for another sniper team, the 3rd sniper team to be at. I didn't look at the whole area, so I didn't, but in and of itself, if that 3rd sniper team had been there and been placed in that general location, that guy would have never, because they would have been looking back at the stage and they would have seen the roofs are slanted there. They would have been able to see the guy crawling up the one side to get his shot across the top. And so I don't know if you can see me right now. I think you can. So they would have saw the guy crawling up the roof, and they could have shot him from behind. But because they didn't have that 3rd team there, maybe not even the 2nd team there, the guy was able to crawl up, not being seen by the sniper team by the event where Trump was, until he crested the roof and started to shoot. Let's see. Overwatch control, manned aircraft and drones. Depending on the location, I think manned aircraft might have been a little excessive here, because the noise in the open area, the helicopter flying around and everything, would have been too loud for the crowd. They wouldn't have heard Trump because they would have heard the helicopter flying the whole time. So that still does not mean that you don't do a flyover once with a helicopter or twice with a helicopter, looking at the area and all the spots surrounding the high elevation spots and so forth, looking down and making sure that these areas are secure at least prior to the start, and then sending that guy out. And then you could put drones up to look at these closer locations. And they didn't have drones from what I understand there either. So again, in my opinion, another mistake. Pre-event and inspections and patrols. This area, for whatever reason, where those buildings were, seemed to be neglected for the most part. Like I said, there was someone that came forward and said, "Hey, there are guys that are up on the roof," and police officer did climb up and see him with a rifle pointed at him, or her, and they ducked back down. So the time from the observations to the response of getting there was not quick enough to stop the event. And that's an issue. That's a problem, big issue. So to me, it says they did not have enough, or they did not have anybody in the space over there to prevent that shooter from infiltrating, getting on the roof, and taking the shots. So again, bad. Bomb and canine sweeps. Those are pretty regular. Before the people come in, they'll do that at the event. They'll have usually canines at the front smelling for bombs and those types of things as well, or handguns and that type of stuff coming in. Unified communications. I heard that the communications were not on par, meaning the state police couldn't talk to the police who couldn't talk to the Secret Service by just clicking a mic down. And that might be fine to some aspect, but you have to have a dispatcher that is there that can send out at a frequency to various people and split the signal, where, hey, everybody go to 1, everybody go to 2, everybody go to 3, whatever it is, with different channels. So you can have Secret Service on 1, you could have the police, local police on 2, you could have, and then you have a unified communications where everybody can hear it. And somebody has to be monitoring those different frequencies. There might be a time where you switch it all from various ones to one single during the event, so everybody can hear what's going on at one time, and where the attack or whatever might be happening, where the security needs to be moved or whatever can move, right? You're in your groups. You break up the groups into areas and regions where certain people are going to respond to certain instances based upon where that location is. Meaning you're not going to bring everybody to one location from all over the place, because you're going to leave weak spots in multiple areas. So you have response areas for certain people to respond to. I don't know what their communications were there in that, but you have to have a unified communications where I can get on right away as a police officer and says, we on the far left to the southwest, we have buildings. There's a guy on the roof with a rifle, and within 3 to 4 seconds, that's being sent out on other channels. Still, everybody knows what's going on, right? So those types of things. Undercover officers, I heard there weren't any in the crowds. I think you have to do that. I think you really have to put undercover officers out there nowadays, whether it's at the front gate, whether it's walking through a parking lot somewhere on the outside, or those types of things, or whether it's inside the crowd, because sometimes they're the first ones to see, because they're in the crowd. They'll see something happening that somebody on the periphery, on the outside looking in, because of the number and mass of people, are not going to be able to see. And because they're in the center like that, if the shooting would have happened from inside the crowd somewhere, you have somebody every 10 to 15 yards away from each other. You can have a coordination where 3 or 4 guys coming from different directions can come in and take out somebody if you need to within those groups. And if they didn't do that, that's a huge no-no. Even though you have security at the gate, with the technology today and the type of weapons that are out there, you can print a gun on a printer now, those types of things. So magnetometers and such don't work as well as they might have worked in the past. And depending on what kind of security you have there, you've gone to a park, right? SeaWorld, Disneyland, one of these parks, they have somebody searching through your bag. How good of a job do they do? My estimation, it's pretty poor. Then they have some kind of guy on the end. You walk through a magnetometer and you set it off. They have somebody with a little hand wand, and you walk through and they run the hand wand over you and it beeps, and they go to the rest of your body and say, you're good. What? You're good? Hey, there's a gun in the middle of my chest, but I'm good. All right, man, thanks. I'm walking right on through. So security at this event, I'm sure, was better than that, I would hope. But you just don't know how good the security is. So you have to have those persons in those positions. There has to be a percentage depending on the size of the area. I understand you can't cover every little single incident and so forth, but you have to accommodate and do some of these things to lessen the chance of them happening. All right, collusion. I wanted to talk about collusion real quick. This is where I'm going to talk about where our law enforcement and the federal government has been almost since the mid period of the Obama administration. Trump really didn't clean it up. He didn't clean up the swamp his last term when he was there. And you could see that happening by the things that the FBI director and the CIA director and the NSA director and all these other directors from these departments who had been Obama people that had been put in place, and then the people right below them were like-minded and put in there by the people Obama put in place and Trump did not get rid of. And it's 10 times worse today than it was then, in my opinion. I don't. I have no proof. I have no proof to that, but I can only say that because it is. It's deep layers of stuff within all of our governmental agencies that need to be cleaned out. But anyway, I wanted to just show you a past history why you cannot totally trust the FBI, why you can't totally trust the Department of Justice, why you can't totally trust the CIA or the NSA or Homeland Security or the Secret Service and or the Biden administration. If you watch Biden's talk to the American people from the Oval Office yesterday, how much of that was just lies? I'm sorry to say it, lies. Can you trust what he says? I agree with everything. I think we should pull back. I think we should become more of a country of, where we take care of our neighbor and trust each other again and believe in the American system. I agree 100% with that. 100 and 120%, 1,000,000% with that. Except the Democratic Party has shown they'll say this and then do the complete opposite. So, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I say, I'll listen to your words and I'll trust that you will change and get better at it. But I won't believe it until I see it and hear it in real life. And today, ACOC is saying we should get rid of the Democrats and Trump is a Nazi and stuff again. Here we go. We didn't even get one whole day. And the Democrats are already doing this stuff again. So I agree. Even my pastor at my church this weekend didn't really say anything about the shooting other than there was, we know what happened yesterday. This is Sunday. We know what happened yesterday, and we have Democrats sitting next to Republicans in our church, and we just all need to learn to get along together. That was it. Which is, he's protecting his church. The truth is the truth, and you have to protect the truth. Otherwise, the rest falls apart. All right, so the Russian dossier, I kind of went through a history here, how the trust of the FBI, the Department of Justice, the CIA, all these agencies has just been diminished over time. If you would have asked me 30 years ago as a law enforcement officer in San Diego County, do you trust the FBI, the Department of Justice? Do you trust the CIA? Do you trust all these agencies, federal, local, and state? I would have given 100% support to them. I would have said, yes, you can 100% trust the FBI. 100%. I would have backed anything anyone had to say about the FBI. But when we look at the Russian dossier that came from the Hillary Clinton campaign, who then the FBI got FISA warrants knowing that the documentation was false, and the Department of Justice hires Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller when Trump is in office to do all these things, and they have the support of the CIA and the NSA, and then you have House Representatives Nancy Pelosi, Schiff, and Nader all saying Trump's a liar, he's a collusionist, he's a Russian spy, and all this stuff for 4 years, roughly, could be more, for 4 years, even after the Mueller thing came back, and they found basically they found nothing. I'm starting to have a problem with the FBI, the Department of Justice, FISA courts, and CIA, and those agencies. And then we have the impeachment number 1, Ukraine, abuse of power and obstruction. When Trump was talking to the president of Ukraine, who came here and went through the hearings here in the United States and said, Trump never promised or threatened me with anything. They still impeached Trump. Nancy Pelosi, all the lies and everything that came out through there. The FBI, the CIA, all these other agencies were supporting her. I have a problem with federal law enforcement. Impeachment number 2. We have the House of Representatives. Nancy Pelosi again, insurrection committee meetings, where we had 2 Republicans on, both basically leftist Republicans who should not be Republican in the first place. They did TV produced broadcasts with a TV producer so it would come across in their favor. Again, I have a problem with the federal government in the way they do prosecutions. Department of Justice, Special Prosecutor Jack Smith. And these are prosecutions directly against Donald Trump. Not until he decided to run for president a little over a year ago did they start doing all these things against him, because they'll do anything to stop him from being president again. Department of Justice, through a special prosecutor appointed Jack Smith, they seize Mar-a-Lago, go in and take the documents that Trump, as president, can waive as far as top secretness to him and take with him when he's probably I don't know what they are. And then they mark the documents with their own and send pictures to CNN showing that these documents are top secret, when the documents never had those on top of them until they put them on top, the FBI itself, and then took pictures of them and then sent those pictures to CNN to put on TV to propagandize the public. How do you trust the FBI? They got a warrant that says deadly force is usable. Trump said you could take the documents whenever you want. Come get them. Let's go through them. What do you think should not be here? I'll let you take. They come in and close off everything, turn off all the security cameras so you can't see what they're doing, and they could use deadly force and kill Trump. He wasn't there, but I mean they could have. Is that a common thing? It might be, but in this case, it's the past president of the United States. You're going to use deadly force. There's Secret Service people there. Are you going to shoot the Secret Service because they prevent you from grabbing or taking something? Hello? I have an issue with the Department of Justice. Number 2, Special Prosecutor Jack Smith again. Filed criminal charges in D.C. Circuit Court. Federal agents found to inciting capital, or FBI agents found to be inside. So this comes out in some hearings a couple months back. I think I did a video on it. Can't remember which one it was. But they have, the House did some committee meetings regarding January 6th insurrection. It was a protest. It was an insurrection. And I explained why it wasn't then. But there were at least 250 FBI, maybe not agents, but FBI people working with the FBI that were part of that. They found in the hearings that the FBI actually directed or was using methods, people they have inserted into these different groups throughout the United States, put them in there to kind of stir up stuff to get more people to come to DC, so that they could get them to push them into the Capitol building to the point where now they can start charging them and so forth and so on. And we'll talk about some of those in a few minutes. Capitol Police moving barricades, allowing persons to enter. Capitol Police is escorting persons in the Capitol building. FBI agents, at least 250 that he said, this congressman said he learned from the hearings, there are at least 250 of these FBI informants or persons within the crowd that day that were urging U.S. citizens to enter the Capitol building. It's a setup. It's entrapment, right? How can you trust the FBI? New York, number 3, Alvin Bragg. 34 charge indictment falsifying documents, which generally is one misdemeanor count that he changed into each one of these little things, making it 34 counts. The statutory limit had expired, and he's prosecuting on an unused federal law that he has no jurisdiction in New York to prosecute on. The guy, number 3 guy from the Department of Justice, Biden's Department of Justice, takes a pay reduction in a a job reduction from the number 3 guy to become just a city attorney, deputy city attorney, district attorney in New York to prosecute this case. That does not happen. There's an issue there with the Department of Justice. Atlanta, Fulton County, Fannie Willis, 18 charges for over-attempting and overturning the 2020 election results, trying to do those in Georgia. You all know what's going on with her. I'm going to get Trump. I'm going to sue him. I'm going to put him in jail before as part of her election campaign. Same thing with Alvin Bragg. Same thing. FBI, January 6th. So the insurrection prosecutions. 1,200 prosecutions, 460 imprisonments. Some probably still in jail. I'm not sure how many. And that may have not even gone to trial. They've been in jail for 1, 2, 3 years already and have never been totally prosecuted yet. Antifa BLM protests from 2018 to 2020. 0 Department of Justice prosecutions. Buildings burning, people killed, tortured, people's property destroyed, and 0 prosecutions. Nothing. Most of these crimes from the protests in the Capitol building were mostly misdemeanors. Usually on a misdemeanor. I worked in the court system for 17 years in San Diego County. Misdemeanors. You'd be lucky if you got a fine. You did 5 days in jail, and then maybe get put on probation or whatever for 3 months, 6 months, whatever it might be, for a misdemeanor. If it was a heavy misdemeanor. Most of the times it was maybe just a fine, or you had to go take a class somewhere, anti-theft class or something like that, teach you not to steal. That's ridiculous. How can you trust the Department of Justice? The FBI is supporting that, finding these people, doing the investigation part. How can you trust the FBI? How can you trust the Department of Justice when those things are going? Department of Justice, FBI going after parents for their First Amendment right to redress the complaints of school boards and putting sexual abusive materials into schools for your kids, elementary and middle school and high school. FBI and Department of Justice. How can you trust them, those law enforcement agencies? Here's the one I wanted to talk about. Gretchen Whitmer, if you remember her in Michigan, she's the governor. 2020 election, FBI uncovers kidnap plot to justify. Just think if the FBI pushed for assassination instead of kidnap on these. What I'm saying there is, AP explainer, what is entrapment? Entrapment's role in the kidnapping plot. So I'm gonna see if it still is up. Where are you? There you go. So let me see if I can switch that for you. So here we go. Oops. Trying to push it to the side. Yep. I know I'm not on your picture anymore. But here you go. Explainer, what is entrapment's role in the kidnap plot trial? So Grand Rapids, the court question at the trial of 4 men charged with plotting kidnap of Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is whether the FBI engaged in entrapment. If you watched Biden's Oval Office message yesterday, he made a quick comment. I went back and added this in there because I knew that they had been entrapped by the FBI. The FBI found this organization, this group, decided to use their informants or FBI personnel themselves, agents themselves, undercover agents, whatever it might be, for this group to start creating a plan for kidnapping Whitmer and her kids. And then, of course, right before they do it, what do? They announced, we found this organization that was going to kidnap Whitmer, and she's going up for a re-election, right? Kidnap her, and so forth and so on. But Biden yesterday said they were going to kill her. He's lying, folks. How can you trust Biden? How can you trust the FBI when they're doing this stuff? I'm sorry to say, you cannot trust them right now. It hurts me in my heart, my mind, and my soul, saying we cannot trust the FBI. We cannot trust our Department of Justice. And I've just brought up these things and showing you what they've done to American citizens just over the last 8 years. There are a lot more. that I'm not putting up right here for you to see. It's going to lead to something here in a minute. Same with there. Entrapment played as appeals court looks at the plot to kidnap the governor. So these are two guys that were found convicted or found guilty and put in prison for the kidnapped. And now that entrapment has been thrown out there, I don't know what their status is, but the appeals court is looking at setting aside or throwing away their sentences and either having them retrial it or just it totally going away. What can you say, folks? It's scary, right? All right, so there's that. Zero termination. There have been zero termination and zero prosecutions by any government entity of any government persons or agency for the abuse of power and breaking the law. So that entrapment there. Who got fired? Nobody. Nobody got fired. What accountability was for the FBI or the Department of Justice on these prosecutions of these persons for January 6th? What's the accountability there? Or the DOJ and the FBI going after parents in school board meetings? Where is it? It doesn't exist. So, investigation. Let's move to that real quick. I know this is taking a long time, but I'm coming to a summation, a prediction at the end. You may not agree with it, but I'm trying to give you the material to say use your brain. You may not agree with what I'm saying or the facts that I'm presenting to you. Then go find it your own and show me different. FBI, Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Justice. Based upon the last 10 years of these Obama and Biden administration's weaponization of these departments and their known actions proven above, which I just showed you. And because the reporting will be reviewed and then amended by senior administrative or is subject to senior administrative purview, meaning they'll look at it and they'll make changes. It's unlikely that all the facts as discovered will be accurately revealed in the final report. And again, refined in lesser detail and released to the public. So you're probably going to see this guy as a lone wolf. We don't know why he did what he did. You're going to see basically he's a Republican, which doesn't really make sense why a Republican would go after Trump. But he's a Republican. He's a white guy. He's young. He's stupid per Kamala Harris. We as the Secret Service and local law enforcement, we messed up, but we're going to fix that next time. And nothing's going to be done. That is what you're going to hear. We cannot allow it to stop there. Our only other recourse, to my knowledge and what I can think of, is the current House of Representatives. But they only have a short time, depending on how this election goes. The Republicans may not run the House come January of next year, January 21st of next year. Hopefully they are, and hopefully the number increases. But there's no guarantee. This investigation has to be done, and it's got to get done quickly. This investigation must be built off the above administration's law enforcement investigation. So take what they have, bring them in, talk to them, find the stuff that they don't want to show it to you, get it anyway. Get it. You have to get it. Find out where it is and bring it. Be more thorough in the process with 100% of its findings and reveal that 100% to the people. You got to bring it to the people. The only way we can transform and bring the federal government offices like Department of Justice, FBI, CIA, and those, we have to hold them accountable. Those people that are running those agencies need to face discipline, possibly even go to jail for a long time. They need to. It's going to prevent it from happening in the future if those people have that hanging over their heads, knowing if they're cheating the American people, they're going to be prosecuted just the same. Failure to do so will doom America in the continuance and the demise of the American justice system. With Trump's trial, you saw it. It's kind of come to a hold now because the Supreme Court made a determination that the President of the United States, not just Trump, the President of the United States has certain protections under the law. Otherwise, he can't perform his duties. Bam. So it's kind of stopped that criminal process until a better determination can come of that through the lower courts, back at the appellate court level. And then the Supreme, depending on what happens, the Supreme Court, I'm sure, will make another ruling based on what the lower courts have determined and decided based on litigation from both sides. So we're going to see how that pans out, but it's going to take some time in that area. Items to start the initial investigation should include, for Thomas Matthew Crooks, we got to find out his parents. Who are they? We don't know. We just heard from one guy who said, you know what, I'm going to talk to law enforcement and we'll go from there. He sounds like he was already lawyered up. Or the FBI, CIA, whoever was working with him, possibly, and his son to pull this off, block it out. I mean, what other time in history have you seen just the government saying, or the media not following up on this stuff? They are not following up with the parents. I could be wrong, maybe they've announced it, but I haven't heard anybody saying he doesn't have a mom, or his mom's passed away. I haven't heard anybody say that he doesn't have siblings. We haven't talked to either of those persons, any of those persons. What about friends, including high school friends and teachers? Where is the news reporting on that? What kind of guy was this guy? I don't see any news reporters lining up any of these people and trying to talk to them. Where are they? Work associates. Does this guy not have a job? He's a freeloader since he got out of high school. How does he pay his rent? How does he pay for his food? How does he pay for his van, supposedly? How does he pay for his bomb making materials? Where does it all come from? Work associates. Who are they? Where are they? Memberships. Is he a member of a gym, a shooting club? I would think if he's going to go out and shoot somebody, he's probably went to the range a few times. Or maybe he just didn't. He went out to the country and shot there. Which, if I was the trainer on this instance, that's where we would have went. I'd have taken him out. Dad's gun, my gun, whatever gun. And we'd have taught him how to shoot out in the middle of nowhere. Somebody's probably seen that van somewhere. It's a big white van. How do you not see it? They might have taken the other guy's car. Right? Political affiliations. He donated money to that organization, that left-wing organization. What has he done in the past? Has he volunteered somewhere? Computer. Does he have one? Heck if I know. I haven't heard. If he does, email, social media sites, chat, gaming groups and clubs he's associated with, websites. What has he been watching on YouTube, Vimeo, on TikTok? What has he been watching? What kind of videos? I watch motorcycle stuff and that kind of things because I like motorcycles and I'm into motorcycle riding right now. And then I watch other stuff like talk show hosts and stuff like that too on the news and political stuff. That's what I watch. Websites. Where's he going? How did he learn to make bombs? How did he know what materials to buy to make bombs? Documents. Has he been creating documents? Does he have a map somewhere showing about the layout of, if he does, how did he get it? Is that on his computer? Or was that all cleaned up before he left, or cleaned up when the FBI got there? Photos and videos on his computer. Cell phone. This is the worst and best tool of law enforcement, the cell phone. You get to check out what social media, you can look at his emails, you can check his texts, you can check his chats, all videos and photos, who he's hanging out with. Hey, who's that guy in that photo? I don't know, let's find out who it is. Where's this location? I don't know, let's go check out where that is. Let's go talk to people. Let's find out where and what he's been doing for the last year, 2 years. Location. Your phone is a tracking device. I don't care if you turn the tracker off, it tracks you. You know, it knows where you've been every day, from time to time. It probably can even say you were in this specific place from this time to this time, and then it moved. And because you went from one cell tower to another cell tower to another cell tower to another cell tower, it knows where you've been. All right. How do you think when you type in a location on your phone and you say, map me from here to there, it knows how to get you there. It's tracking you. It knows where you've been, right? So locations, we need to look back at least a year. Location, locations, travel, dates, times, locations, photos, video, all that stuff needs to be checked. Now, they were probably really smart with this guy, and they had times of meeting here or meeting there. Maybe it wasn't electronically done, or they used some kind of second or third or fourth cell phones. The guy I found that I think might have been his dad had like six cell phones. I don't know if they're cell phones. Had six phone numbers. Six. That's like a red flag to me. Why does a guy have six phone numbers? Not that they all work. Maybe none of them work. Maybe only one works. Maybe none of them work. I don't know. But the website was showing he's got six phone numbers and 14 addresses. What? Six phone numbers and 14 addresses? I'm not sure that's his dad, but the person I found lives in the Pennsylvania area. If it is him, I have a lot of questions. I do. A lot of questions. Which might have two or three cell phones, burner phones, which might have common locations or usage. So he might have taken his cell phone with him, but he also had his burner phone with him. Whatever it might be. They're going to show the same exact location. So checking out wherever the locations were, finding the phones that were also networked in that specific geo area location, tracking those numbers down, figuring out who they are, disassociating them from this. I'm sure you might find if this was a method of tracking where he's going to have these two numbers at the same location and he is calling another location. So his personal phone's going to find his burner phone, and then his burner phone, you're going to figure that out because it's at multiple locations where his other phone was at. Boom. Now you can track him again and know where he's gone, where he's been. Yeah, that's how it works, folks. Let's see. Site visits with interviews. Check for video. Banking transactions. You got to look and see. I don't know if the guy had a credit card or not. How did he pay for stuff? Transactions, cards, cash, those types of things. Did he have a favorite coffee shop he always went to? Did he hang out during the day? I don't know if it's Starbucks or whatever's in the local area. Did he sit there and did he chat with somebody for a couple hours every Friday, every Monday? They'd leave together. What? Yeah, that's how you figure this stuff out. Online transactions. Is he buying stuff online? Is he buying all his bombing stuff online? Change in spending habits. Did he start spending a lot more? Did he start spending less? When was that? What was he buying? And where was it going? And where did it come from? Vehicles. I think I saw his van on a tow truck on a news article. To me, it looked like a Chevy van, because I had a friend that had a van that looked just like it. So I'm pretty sure it was a Chevy van. Chevy vans most likely have OnStar tracking on them. Just because you don't pay for it does not mean you're not being tracked by OnStar, right? They can track that vehicle and know exactly where it's been for the last 6 months, a year, depending on how long they keep their data. There you go. Other vehicles he may have utilized: family, friends, rental, make, model, color. Those things could be important. It shows a pattern of where he's gone, where he's moved, where he's traveled from, who he's seeing, and who he's talking to. Secret Service. So we're doing investigations here. This is what I would look at. All the team members who touched this event. Even if it was just a text, an email, or a memo, or transited or transitioned any documents, attended a meeting in person, online, via Zoom, or anything like that, or was or is an administrative of anyone else who functionally did something or did nothing for this event. Did nothing for this event, but yet they had an ability to find, see, or look at stuff from this event. Bam. You're looking. This is how I found in a past investigation a thief doing stuff just like this, and looking at data and information and then tracking it backwards and looking to see where it came from, and then looking out through the people who had contact and the touch of certain materials and information, and I was able to track it back and find who the thief was, who had stolen over $500,000 in monies at a casino. Um, so yeah, this is the stuff you need to look at. You need to find out. You need to go through it. It's boringer than anything, but it has to be done. You have to look back. This is how we find the perpetrator or perpetrators if they came from the Secret Service or from the FBI or from one of the other governmental agencies. This is how we find the information, how it got out, how the shooter got his information about where to be, where to go, how to do it. He had to have information from somewhere. He's just not that good to walk out of drive his van up, park it, jump out, walk out with a bag with a gun in it, hop a fence, walk through an area, walk across the parking lot, find a ladder or a way to get up on a roof. It doesn't happen that way. He had to have support from somewhere or something, somehow. He had to have it. So you're looking at all these issues and items to kind of weed through the department to figure out how this happened. How did he get his information for this? Review all service records, affiliations in and out of the department. Look for deviations at work. Are the people coming in earlier or later at a certain time? So who was always early during this time period? Who was always late? What emails? Check texts, check phone. Who was sick at certain times, maybe unusually sick? Who's taking vacations and so forth, or not taking vacations? Finances, spending increases, new clothes, jewelry. See, I don't know if this had a money content to it to pay some of these people. Most likely not, but it is something you need to look at too. You know, some people will only do things. Hey, you give me some money, sure, I'll pass that report to you. I'll send it to you. I'll photocopy of it and put it on your desk for you. Whatever. So things like this help you find the person who was not really affiliated, or really cared about the whole thing, the politics of it all, but wanted the few extra bucks, 10 grand, $1,000, 10,000, whatever, right? That's how you find them, and then go back, because they eventually will give the other person up. So those types of things. Associations at work, lunch break, different departments getting together and having a chat. Somebody from one department passes somebody something else. Co-workers, same or different department. Family, girlfriend, friends, neighbors, clubs, gym. Local law enforcement, I hate to say it, but yeah, you guys have to be suspect too. They could have been the facilitator for this. There was supposed to be a cop parked along that fence line, but there wasn't. Where was he? He got relieved by somebody else who just disappeared. I don't know. It was a setup. I don't know. Stuff like that happens. So you got to do the same for the local law enforcement. But this is very intense. I know it's a lot of work, but you're trying to find the truth here. Get down to the real issues of how this happened. Who had security responsibility and control of those and of the shooter's areas where he had access in the point of the shooting location? Who was responsible for that area? FBI, same thing. Who from the FBI has been traveling to Pittsburgh repeatedly? Maybe talking to their handler who's then working with this guy. How many phone calls are going into this location? And it's not going into the office in Pittsburgh, but it's going to somewhere in Pittsburgh to the same phone number. Who is that person they're talking to? I don't know. And then it ends up to this other guy. So all of these agencies, this is a lot of investigative stuff. It could take a long time. Depends on how many people are doing it and how thorough they are. All right, so finally we're going to get to Crooks himself. Would-be shooter. Who is the ideal would-be shooter? In this case, because it's a white president, a white person. Who are you most likely going to find to be better physically fit? You're going to find a male than over a female. What age are you looking for? Well, me being a male, most males between the age of probably 17, 18, and probably 25, you're just in a discovery mode. You don't really know who you are. You may think you know who you are. You may have a very outgoing and demanding personality. Um, but you also might be the quiet, shy guy that's really looking to be part of something. You really don't know what you're going to do with your life, and you're just looking for somebody you can hang out with and be with and mentor you and take you along for the ride. That's what this shooter is. Sounds like he is to me. He's the young white male, 18 to 22 years old, 20, fits right in the middle, whose family and area he grew up in is traditionally center left to far left. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think this area fits into that category. Who is open-minded to extremism because he is not sure of who he is yet. Very much sounds like who he is from what I have seen and heard at this point of this investigation, what I've seen in the news and so forth. May be quiet and reserved in his personality, having few to no friends. I've kind of heard that too through this so far, but is looking to contribute to something big, which most people are in their youth. They're looking for something they could be part of that's big, you know. I was. I don't know why he wouldn't be, you know, quiet and shy myself when I was younger. I'm not saying that I fit the mold for this, because I would have never done that, but you just don't know. Not everybody thinks like me. Who is open for like-minded, and most likely a male friend or a mentor, somewhere about his same age, maybe a little bit older, who can relate to him, and together they can explore possibilities. This is where his dad, I don't know, their relationship may feel in, but because dad kind of took the Fifth Amendment to some aspect, I'm going to talk to law enforcement and then I'll talk to you. That's basically the Fifth Amendment right there, and nobody's challenged him on it. Dad fits in right there too. Hate to say it, but not all dads like their sons, and it was dad's gun. Maybe dad had the connection with the FBI or somebody else. Dad didn't look like he has too good of a history. If it's the same guy that I looked at, has a little bit of a criminal history. Could be. They're paying him a little money on the side to take care of this and get his kid trained up. May have been initially indifferent to guns and violence, but through a friendship opened up to them, training, beginning training in their use. Dad's gun. He's going to take him out. He's going to show him how to shoot it. Doesn't necessarily have to be that gun, but dad's gun was used and taken and used. We haven't heard what dad did to stop that or prevent that or anything. So therefore, you have that. Someone who could be brainwashed to the point where even though an hour plus drive, a quarter mile plus walk carrying a rifle, being challenged by attendees, then police on a roof proceed in his task. So the kid has to be somewhat brainwashed to the point where he's just knowing he's gonna die. He's basically no reason other than killing this person. His mentality is there. He's just brainwashed to that level. That's why this doesn't sound just like a random thing that happened because he got upset with Trump one day and decided he's going to go out and shoot him. No, that's not this case. That's not this case. The shooter was not just some kid or a lone wolf. He was brainwashed and trained for this mission. He was a soldier. Sorry. Maybe a not totally prepared soldier, but he was given a lot of opportunities. The access, the locations, the times, the dates, the methodology, the location, the nearness of the shot, the lack of security in the area, particularly that area where the shooting happened. He was helped. He had to be. Crooks had a significant assistance in the lack of information as to his life. Habits and background confirm that he is beyond a reasonable doubt. So the lack of information on this kid, he's got a clean slate record. He's like the guy from the TV movie series. Um, can't remember the name of it. Um, where he's basically an assassin. And he travels the world. He loses his consciousness. He comes back, slowly figures out, and the CIA and the FBI are trying to kill him. That's what this is. He's kind of like that to some aspect. He's a trained soldier, um, given all the tools and information and methodology to complete his task. Although he kind of failed because he didn't get in quite enough, where he was not observed or seen, and that was to his detriment and to his failure. I sincerely believe if he would not have been seen, that police officer, that kind of makes sense, that was crawling up to the roof and saw him, and then back down. If that did not in fact happen, and the shooter had time to get his aim on target, I'm 90% sure Trump wouldn't be here today. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. So no strings to tie him to anyone or anything, and the media's silence is ringing loud and clear. This was an assassination attempt, most likely put on by a political organization that had support from someone in the FBI, CIA, Secret Service, one of those agencies, Department of Justice. It's not going to be a thing where you can just point a finger directly at a service or a person, but one or two persons had access that provided the information that was necessary for Crooks to almost complete his job. Boom, there you had it. It's an inside job, folks. With that said, I think I've said enough. I've been on here for way too long. They might come after me. Hey, government, I don't have any evidence. I have not called anybody. I have not talked to anybody really about this. The information I found is based upon stuff I found on the internet. It's stuff that I have reasonably determined in my mind from my law enforcement background. Things I've seen and observed over time from the news, from the media, from governmental agencies, from my work in law enforcement, my work as surveillance agent, and my work as general manager of casinos and businesses, and common sense. That's where I'm getting all this information from. That's where it's all come. And mostly common sense. It's just common sense. You have to know that this stuff has happened. And yeah, he could be a lone wolf. That's what's going to come out as a story. But and it'll be interesting to see what the House of Representatives, their investigation, what action they take or can take. My recommendation would be to cut funding. Bring in these people, and if you can, you know what, if they're not, it's hard, because you don't have control of the Department of Justice. You just don't. All I can say is the only thing we can really hope for is that this election goes to Trump by such a landslide that the Democratic Communist Party is overwhelmed by the Trumps for vote, or the Trumps for vote, the votes for Trump, the votes for Trump, that it just is inconceivable that they could cheat to the point where Biden still wins, or Kamala, or whoever, Michelle, whoever ends up in that nomination for president from that party. This is it, folks. One last thing. I made comment, I think, in my video from a few months ago. I talked about JFK assassination and how that was supposed to come out. The information was supposed to be open to the public, I think around 2008 or somewhere in there, in 2010. And as of today, that information has still not been released. If you really, really, truly, really think about it, if the Soviet Union played a part in that. It's gone. They've been gone since, what, 1998? There's nobody there to blame, nobody there to send a missile at and attack for Kennedy's death. Um, if it was Fidel Castro, there's he's long dead. He's gone too. We're not gonna attack Cuba anymore. We've been at a status quo for so long that retribution for JFK's death is not gonna happen. It just won't. So what does common sense tell you about JFK? What does common sense tell you? It was an inside job. And to release the information to the public would do great harm to our federal government. This as well, this shooting as well on Trump is no different. But if we're going to fix America and we're going to fix the justice, law enforcement agencies, the Department of Justice, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, Homeland Security, if we're going to fix any of these areas, if we're going to fix it, it's got to get to the point where it's dropped to its lowest point and it's revealed to the people of the country. And the people demand it to be fixed. So Trump, I'm not the biggest fan of yours, to say the least. No man can have withstood what you've withstood, thrown at you, and almost taken from you your life, from this government and from the left. I hate to say it because it's not everybody on the left. It's the toxic few on the very extreme left and those that subvert it to stay in power. I support you, and if you need any assistance in anything, I will be there to right the ship of the United States for you. Or if it means prison or jail or death, so be it. This country is more important to me than the few remaining years of what I have left on this planet. And I don't want it to disappear on my watch. With that said, our children deserve better. And what's being currently presented to us is not better. All right, folks, I haven't been on the air for a couple weeks. Been on vacation, traveling, and visiting family and friends, so sorry about that. I'm plan to continue the vacation coming up here in about a week and a half to 2 weeks for almost a month. So I might try to shoot some small little clip or something like that, and as things are happening, put it out there for you. But and I'm definitely going to try to shorten these down a bit. This is way too long. Nobody wants to hear an old guy that's not funny or good looking talk about stuff for this long. So I hope I laid it out for you. I hope I didn't miss anything. If you have a question or a comment, I thought about maybe going live eventually someday, but I just don't have enough followers at this point. And based upon stuff, I may never have any followers. So with that said, you guys have a great week. Enjoy the RNC. Hopefully nothing else happens. I don't think anything will happen, just to kind of give you a refresher from here to the end, because J.D. Vance is kind of be listed there as the vice president now. I think they'll get through the convention without any issues. Where the trouble might happen is between the election day, if Trump actually does win, somewhere between election day and the 20th of January. So, JD, you've bitten off a big chunk of the apple. I wish you success, because you just put yourself in the firing line with Trump now, literally in the firing line, not just for any assassination attempts, but for anything and everything political, including any business dealings, financial dealings you may have. Anything you say, whether it's legal or not, will be used against you in the left's court of law. You're a brave man. Good luck. And folks, we'll talk to you next week or soon and go from there. You guys take care. Bye-bye.